So I want to start the discussion by shouting out the composers of this song, Martin Gonzalez and Casey Williams. They did a fantastic job with this song. I've been listening to it over and over again. I love how the full version is already out. I doubt all of the songs are going to be like the full versions of these songs are going to be coming out at the same time, like when they're released in the episode. If they are, that's great, but if they're not, then I completely understand. But I think it's great that we got to hear the full version right after the episode came out. Like I said, I've been listening to it over and over again. It gives off RWBY vibes, but at the same time, it's new, it's fresh, and I think it also fits this fresh new opening. I mean, I love how this opening is similar to like Volume 8, where like they took a lot of not risks, I guess, but they did a lot of new things that they didn't in like previous volumes openings, and that's why Volume 8 is such a great opening. And now following that, Volume 9 goes even the extra mile and adds even more new variety to their opening. I think it's great. The style choices, a lot of the hints and the foreshadowing. They did some of that in Volume 8, but Volume 9's opening has just a ton of them. I mean, my notebook is just filled to like, 2 or 3 pages now of just talking about what's in this opening. I mean, there's a lot that a lot of people can not only see for the first time and like theorize and break down and stuff, but after an episode is finished they can go back and rewatch the opening and be like, oh, so that's what that means, oh, so that's what that means. So it's just a lot of fun for the audience when they see an opening with all of those. It's, I mean, like, I don't want to make fun of like Naruto openings, but like I look at those and they basically just spoil a lot of the stuff that happens. The openings look great, but there's just a lot of stuff that's just plain old spoiled. I like rather like openings that don't give you the answer, but they kind of hint like, hey, we're gonna leave you little crumbs here and you can have fun with that, you can figure that out. And even when you get the answers to these crumbs, you might not even realize that you got those crumbs in the opening until like, somebody tells you, or until you watch the opening a few times and go like, wait a minute, oh, so that's what that means. Like, I don't know, I just think it's great. This opening was a lot of fun, and like I said, like there's a lot to discuss even in this first episode. So starting talking about the opening, we have those little firefly ball of light things that we saw in the beginning of the episode. Something that I really liked about like the beginning of the opening is just how it gives off this traveling vibe. Like there's this like, it feels like we're kind of going through hyperspace, but a lot slower and a lot more calm. And then we have like the little music in the beginning, like do 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 do. Like I like that because it just like I said, it gives off like the calm before the storm. Like we get the little calm intro before we get into the whole RWBY metal vibe that we usually get in RWBY songs. So I like that a lot. And then with that, we also get like the pictures of the characters with their respective colors. I like the idea of that, but I do have to say that the characters kind of look scuffed when they're just drenched in their colors. Like I know they're all 3D models, but they look like unfinished 3D models when they look like that, at least to me. Maybe I'll get used to it later. But something that I really liked is John, because his colors aren't just his usual yellow colors, but instead he also has the red blood from Penny's blood when he stabbed her, and also the blue tear going down his face. I feel like that's like RWBY telling us, okay, yeah, don't forget about Penny's death. Don't forget about Penny's death. I think that's not only going to influence John throughout this whole volume, but the other characters as well. I think that's going to be lingering throughout the whole volume, and I think the subject of loss is going to be really hammered. It's been hammered. It's not been hammered, but it's been sprinkled since Volume 3. Like, we get through John's little storyline, RWBY's little storyline, so on and so forth. But I feel like this episode is not this episode, but this volume is going to be very, very into loss. Roman's death, Penny's death, maybe, the fear of somebody else dying, like Yang. I know I'm jumping ahead and talking about the episode. I know this video is supposed to be about the opening, but Yang also, she talks about death in this episode as well, when she thinks that she died, and when she saw her friends, probably for a split second, she thought they died as well when she said that you weren't supposed to be here. So I feel like death and dealing with death and being afraid of other people's death is going to be important in this volume. And I think that's going to be shown. I do wish that Roman's hat was also colored. I think because that once again has to do with death, I think that would have been appropriate. But it was only John, so I wonder if there's going to be even more significance to the fact that it was only John whose loss was shown, I guess. So we then cut to, so everybody's colors are shown. Ruby is, enveloped in light, and then next thing you know, we see a giant comet hit the island, and that's when it explodes into light, and we get Ruby's title. This opening, this part of the opening definitely gave me Volume 4 vibes with the whole characters turning into comets and going to their respective locations. That's just something that I immediately thought when I saw the intro. I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, going back, there was something else. The fact that there were two other comets that landed on the island. I'm thinking that this is possibly the girl who fell to the world, and also the boy who fell from the sky, I think the story was called. These are both stories that have very similarities, just they're both falling. And also something else to note, which we'll talk about when we get further along in the opening. But their colors are what really interests me. The fact that they look a lot like Jin and Ambrosius. They both have those color schemes, and I'm wondering if we're gonna possibly get an origin from them, or is it possibly that Jin and Ambrosius are the girl who fell from the world, or the girl who fell. Oh God, what was it again? The boy who fell from the sky, and the girl who fell through the world. Could it be possible that those two are the two ancient beings in the relics? I guess that wouldn't be possible unless they were from the old world, which I don't think they were, so I could be wrong. But yeah, still, the color of those two comments are definitely suspicious. The fact that we know we have two stories that have to do with falling and some more stuff that happens in the opening, I think that's definitely something to keep in mind. So we then cut to all of the girls walking forward, their symbol behind them, and we're going through all of their outfits, all of their eras, their arcs, I guess. And something to note is 3 out of 4 of those girls, as they go through their outfits, to go through their arcs, they're smiling more and more. They're feeling more accomplished. And, when it ends with their symbol flashing behind them, like they feel like they succeeded. They a lot of their storylines are, their volume 1 storylines are practically done. Like Weiss is no longer having any issues with her family. We have Blake, who has dealt with Adam. She has dealt with Adam. And the White Fang is turning, changing for the better. We have Yang, who is, she went through a lot of hardship. She went through a lot of trauma, but she's getting better and better. And, she has her relationship with Blake that's growing more and more and more. So, life is good for these 3. I will say, I'm surprised that they didn't have Yang smiling for the Beacon arc, being unsure or frowning for the Haven arc, and then smiling again for the Atlas arc. I think that would make a lot more sense, because the Haven arc was where, she was going through all of that stuff and trying to get better and everything, and she was dealing with that trauma, but they didn't. So I don't know. But the person who wasn't feeling better was noticeably Ruby. She is going through it in this opening, but here we see that she is smiling and cheerful in the first era, and then she's noticeably frowning, going backwards in her Haven era, and then after that, the Atlas era, we didn't even get to see her face. Her symbol is dim. She's not accomplished. Things are just getting worse and worse for her. And I think what's important to know is the fact that 3 out of 4 of those girls do feel a lot more accomplished. Do I think does that mean their story is over? No. Like I said, I think the situation with death is going to be very is very important, not only for Ruby and John and Neo, but for those 3 as well. I mean, we saw how Yang reacted when she saw the girls. And as her scene, I guess, or whatever, her shot is getting more and more dim, we start to see rain go down as well. Something to note, I know I'm once again jumping over to the discussion for the episode, but rain seems to be an important thing for Ruby, and I think it's highlighted here. I think that when it does rain, it's not just raining, simple rain, but instead it does have to do with Ruby's emotions and possibly answering to Ruby's emotions. So yeah, I don't know if that means that she's possibly controlling the island. I don't know if the island's connecting with her. We know that the island sort of has a mind of its own. This opening is definitely saying, yeah, rain. When you see rain happening, it has to do with Ruby. It has to do with her grief or sadness. We then see Alex, the girl who fell from the world, or the girl who fell through the world, and she has the same color as one of the one of the two comets that fell after the big groups fell in the beginning of the opening. The color is very important in the beginning, at the start of this opening. So something tells me that this is the opening telling us, yeah, Alex is one of the comets that fell. A tear falls from Ruby, and then after that it pops, and Crescent Rose is in there. I've mentioned before that it's possible that Ruby's not going to be able to get her scythe back until she starts to work out what's going on with her. Once she at least starts to get that confidence back, then she'll get Crescent Rose back. But yeah, the loss of Crescent Rose is definitely a big part of Ruby's journey in this volume, and the fact that it's trapped in her tear, like I said, I do think that means it's going to be, the island itself might not give her weapon back until she sets herself free, you know what I mean, from that grief. And after that, we go to the forger and the raccoon who stole Yang's arm. Spoilers, I guess, from the official trailer. But yeah, so originally I thought that the forger was the main villain of this series, but I think that now I'm starting to think that she might be just a tool for the actual main villain. Don't get me wrong, her power is going to be very important for this volume if she is the one changing people's hearts. But I don't think that she's the one that like wants to do this. I think she's being forced to by the actual main villain, which we will get to in a second. Something that just makes me think that is the fact that she's living seemingly among like this carnival. Like she just seems like another person just like living her life, or at least trying to. But they are keeping her face covered and in the shadows, so I definitely think that she's going to be an important figure for this volume, just not like a super antagonist way. She's just going to be more of a tool for this antagonist. At least I think so. And then we get the King of Hearts, possibly, or like some kind of doll king who seems to have his subjects that actually look pretty cool. I like the design for them. But I think this guy is going to be the main antagonist of Volume 9, or at least if Neo ends up being the main antagonist, then he's going to be like the general antagonist, maybe, the one that tries to stop Team RWBY from escaping, and possibly trying, off with their heads, possibly. But I don't think, there's going to be any emotional drama between them and this guy, But I think he is possibly the one that is forcing the forger to take people and change them to fit his design, use them as tools. So I think that's possibly what's going on here. That's my initial theory, just looking at the opening. I think this Puppet King is forcing the forger, which is what I'm calling the lady who I think is changing people's identity, and forcing her to basically make really powerful subjects for him. John has become his subject, and now he's trying to get Team RWBY to do the same. Something also to note is the fact that the Cheshire Cat character is also in here. I don't think the Cheshire Cat character is evil or good. I think they're just doing whatever they want to in order to amuse themselves. So at some points, they will help Team RWBY, but at some other points, they will, if it amuses them, be against Team RWBY and end up making their journey a lot harder. So that's why they're with the antagonist circle, with the Puppet King. So then Crescent Rose shatters on the ground, and Team RWBY is formed with its remains. So just that, it looks like Team RWBY is going to be having to make up for the loss of Crescent Rose. I think Team RWBY is going to have to learn to not depend on Ruby as much, because it is something that does happen every once in a while. Like they put all of the expectations on her. And then RWBY is going to have to learn to depend on her team more, and sit back and let her team take the lead. Not take the lead. She can't put all the weight of the team on her. So I think what this is trying to tell us is she's going to have to kind of share the burden with her team. So somebody else who appears with the group but doesn't come from Crescent Rose is Alex, and we see the team following Alex as they traverse the island. So something that I think is definitely going to happen is that these four are going to be retracing Alex's footsteps and figuring out how she escaped from this island. So I don't think they're actually gonna be traveling with Alex, but instead they're gonna be following in her footsteps. Basically going through the same trials and tribulations that she did when she went on this island. Just based off of the fact that they are following her, it seems like she's there, but like she's shadowed out. So it's kind of like they're following like a shadow, or they're following like, you know, a hologram or something like that. I don't know how long it's been since she did this journey, but something tells me it's been like hundreds of years. It's kind of hard to tell based off of her outfit. If this was something that happened in our world and we saw her wearing like a 1600 outfit, then we'd be like, okay, so this was obviously hundreds of years ago. But since we don't really know the whole fashion for Remnant, it's kind of hard to tell if it's been 100 years or 50 years. But if the story, the girl who fell from the world, is based off of her, then it is possible that it has been a few hundred years. So we're kind of like following old trails if that's what ends up happening. So we see these girls following Alex, and we see them going faster and faster. Meanwhile, Ruby is being not left behind, but she's kind of trailing behind. She doesn't have that same vigor as everybody else, and she's trying to keep going, but the weight of everything is keeping her from running with everybody else. Instead, she's like slogging behind because she's trying to, you know, be helpful. She's trying to, you know, still be that good huntress, but it's difficult with all, she can't do it with all of the trauma and all of the pain that she's trying to keep bottled up inside. But we see the girls, they're moving forward with Alex, and at first we see Yang taking charge, but then it quickly goes on to Blake keeping charge, and it stays with Blake. Like, Weiss doesn't go up to the front. Instead, once Blake takes over the leadership role, she stays there. So that's really interesting, and I'm wondering if that could, I mean, I wonder if they're even gonna have enough time to have all these storylines, but I wonder if that's going to be Blake's storyline for this volume, you know, trying to be that leader while Ruby is in that slump, and trying to, you know, keep everybody together and all that stuff, and see how that affects her. Like, is she ready for that leadership role? We know that she fights for what she believes in when it's time. So I think that she definitely does have that leg up from everybody else. But, you know, I wonder if this is going to affect her in some way too. So the butter pillar, as I like to call him, is giving off this like smoke thing. It's definitely, you know, a nod to the caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland. But something else to note is the fact that the smoke definitely makes me remember Jin Smoke from the Volume 6 opening. And I'm wondering if the butter... I don't know why I keep calling him that. But the butter pillar's smoke, I wonder if that also has any magical properties. Maybe it has the same magical property as Jin and is able to show Team RWBY something from the past. Or maybe it has its own magical properties. Maybe it shows the future. Maybe it shows something else. Maybe it shows what people have lost. It's just the effects. It could just be they're using similar to effects, but it definitely reminds me a lot of Jin Smoke when they show it in the Volume 6 opening. So we then cut to John. He's very sad boy right now. He gets shadowed out, and then clocks end up being behind him. I wondered what that meant, but then I remember that the rabbit had a whole thing with clocks. So if I had to guess, it seems like John is going to be that rabbit. If I remember correctly, the rabbit was not working with the queen, but instead was a servant of the queen. I'm wondering if that's going to be the same case for Jean. The rabbit was working in fear, but maybe John is once again being, like I said, forced to because his identity was taken and then replaced with this new one that works for the king. That's why I'm gonna guess John is going to be the knight for the king, and it's going to be doing his bidding. And that's just something to look out for. I don't know if there's really anything. I'll have to, after this, see if there's anything interesting about the rabbit that might tell us what's going to happen to John. But just once again, based off of the rabbit's pocket watch and the whole thing, like I'm late for a very important date. That's what this visual is giving off. So after the girls are running around this weird topsy-turvy world, or this topsy-turvy land, Ruby turns and she sees Alex standing on the other side of a bridge. A leaf comes out of nowhere and Alex turns into Ruby. And now we see Ruby looking at Ruby with like this wicked smile before falling down. So I don't think that the Ruby that we just saw is Neo. I think it's something else. Based off of just the smile, like it just doesn't fit Neo at all, really. Like it looks way too psychotic. Like I feel like Neo has that smug smile. Like it can look like she's gonna murder you, but she does it with like a smugness, you know? Meanwhile, this one looks like psychotic, like like I'm gonna chop off your limbs or something like that. I don't know. It looks very psychotic and just doesn't fit Neo's look at all. Something else to note is that Alex turns into Ruby after a leaf goes past. Also, I completely forgot about the leaves. I feel like the leaves have a very significant thing going on in this volume. If you check out the trailer, the butter pillar comes out of those leaves. So I wonder if the leaves are signifying him or like a symbol for him. I don't know if that's what's going on, but I definitely think that they are important in this volume. And I think when that leaf went past and then turned from Alex to Ruby, that's showing that this world is the thing that made this fake Ruby, not Neo. So I don't know if this is going to be a power from the butter pillar or if this is a power from the island itself. But whatever it is, like I said, I don't think it's Neo. I think this could be a trial for Ruby that she's going to have to overcome. Also, I think the fact that Alex turned into Ruby means that there is going to be a sort of connection between Ruby and Alex. I don't think that's going to be the last connection that Alex is going to have with our current characters. But maybe Ruby is following in her footsteps in a negative way. And this is like showing what she can become. She can become a monster. I'll explain why I said that later on in the opening. But I think that this is telling us that definitely Ruby, the way that Ruby is going right now, can end in a negative, harmful way, similar to what might have happened to Alex during her journey. But like I said, I'll explain all that in further along in the opening. A sugar cube falls in a rainbow tea. I don't know what that's made of, but then we zoom out and then we see Neo. Now Neo's smug smile, this looks more like Neo. Like I said, it looks like she'll murder you, but she doesn't look like, crazy Joker psychotic like the first like the Ruby did, like the fake Ruby did on the bridge. But we see people behind her, and at first I was like, what does this mean? What's going on? But we know that humans aren't a thing on this island. Like, Little saw Ruby and was just like, I don't know what you are. So if that's true, I don't think any of these people are, from this island. I don't think Neo just like made a gang when she got to the island. Instead, something tells me this is stuff from from her book, Roman Holiday, possibly her family, her social circles from back then. I haven't read the book, so I don't know any of those characters, but I do know that she is from rich circles similar to Weiss. I don't see Roman in here, so something tells me these are just all people that she tried to escape from. Unless that person on the person in the middle kind of looks smug enough, like he kind of looks like he's like this a little bit, like kind of like this in a way, so that could be Roman in the background, but like that's very hard to see. Like I can't see. He's funny enough, that silhouette is the one that I see the least, so like it's hard to tell. I think we're definitely going to be getting a lot of Neo content. If we could it would be pretty cool if they animated some scenes from the book as a sort of flashback for Neo, because like I said, I haven't read the book. I don't think I'm going to read it before volume 9 is over, so it would be cool to be in the loop if there's any like emotional things that they want to bring into volume 9, so I think that'd be really cool if they did some. Also, people who have read the book, it would be sort of like reading a manga and then seeing the anime. It would be pretty hype if they saw a scene from the book put in the volume. Also, it looks like Neo is taking the role of the Mad Hatter. You know, she has her tea, she has her hat. Even though I said that she doesn't have a crazy smile, I think that this means that she is going to be doing a lot to try and get revenge on Ruby, and possibly, like, you know, coming up with a plan, a crazy plan, a crazy convoluted plan to try and get revenge on Ruby. I don't really know if there. I'm gonna have to once again. I'm gonna have to look up the Mad Hatter and see if there's any interesting information that might give us a hint towards what Neo might possibly do in the future. So then we see a bunch of pages flipping from a storybook, and if you really slow it down and pause it, then you'll see that it is the girl who fell from the world. It's Alex's story. She is in front of the Cheshire Cat that actually looks like the Cheshire Cat. I'm wondering if that was their past form, or if this is a different cat, or if this is just the interpretation of somebody who wasn't there, who didn't see what the Cheshire Cat character actually looks like. But yeah, this was then followed by the Jabberwocky, the monster that we saw in the episode itself. This is what's making, so this is what I think. The Jabberwocky is possibly Alex, who has lost her identity and is now a tool. I don't want to jump in. I mean, I guess I'll jump a little bit into the episode once again, but during the episode, it kind of felt like this was a robot on a mission, you know? And I'm wondering if that's possibly what's going on. Once again, the king could possibly have Alex as a servant and is using her for, you know, whatever deeds that he needs done. So I think it's possible that Alex lost her way. She never actually went back home. She instead lost her identity. Her identity was taken from her, or she chose to get her identity taken from her, and she turned into this monster. She even has a mask like John does. So this is what I meant by Ruby possibly following in her footsteps and getting close to becoming a monster, turning into a monster, losing her identity. And that's that connection. That's that connection that was being shown to us when Alex turned into crazy Ruby. Something else that makes me think that this Alex is the Jabberwocky is the fact that her story gets burnt up. Like, it's her identity herself, her history getting burnt into fire, and then this is followed by John being drenched in flames. John has accepted losing his identity. He has let this forger take his identity and replace it with something else, and now he is this knight, this bloodied knight. I think John is following in the footsteps of Alex as well, and that's why they're both of them are being drenched in fire. Also, real quick to note, this book and the fairy tale book from that fairy tale side story that they had like last year, they both have trees in front of it. I don't know if that means anything. I don't know. It could just be a look, but I guess that is something to note. The fact that both of them have a tree on the cover. It could possibly mean that the great tree is a very important symbol, not only in this world, but in Remnant as well, which means that it's possibly an important part of Remnant itself. We'll have to wait and see. So we then see Team RWBY running up the tree, and we see the tree sort of fighting back in a way. We see more of those multicolored leaves, which I think is really interesting that we're seeing this when the tree starts to fight back. We know that the tree only lets people go in when it wants people to go. So right now it's showing that, you know, Team RWBY is not ready. They got to go back. It's just interesting that we see the leaves once again. It doesn't have to do with the butter pillar, or is it, you know, the island basically? Are the leaves supposed to signify the island making a decision and saying, nope, not today, and after that sending the girls backwards. We see RWBY fall in front of beautiful art. Like, I love the paintings that they have here, and of different things, multiple things that people can just pause and look at and theorize. We see John with his rabbit steed. We know that he is. We see this rabbit a little bit in the trailer, I believe. We also, or is it the teaser? I think it was the trailer. Yeah, it was a trailer. So once again, rabbit. We know that the rabbit character from Alice in Wonderland is important for John. We then see the Mad King with his subjects. We then see the Cheshire Cat character leaning on Alex's picture. So this is really interesting. we get a good look of her. I love the curly hair. I love the dark skin. But something to note is the fact that there is somebody behind her. It could possibly be her brother, her friend, her partner. I don't know yet, but once again, there were two people who have a very similar story. The girl who fell through the world, and the boy who fell from the sky. Could that be the boy who fell from the sky? Could he be the Jabberwocky? Could he possibly have died, and then that loss had Alex decide to just give up her identity? That's another possibility. But he is definitely there, and I mean, I can't wait to hear his story. Once again, though, I love her art. She looks really good here. We see Little as well with the cheese. We see the butter pillar. We see the forger. And then we see the Jabberwocky. So I mean, I could be grasping at straws here, but it is pretty interesting that the Cheshire Cat character has his bottom half with the Jabberwocky and his top half with Alex. Just saying, it's a possibility. But as we go further and further down, we start to see more pink, and it's giving off like the same sort of effect that Neo gives off when she transforms something, or she transforms herself, like that pink shattered glass sort of effect. So I think that's really cool. It looks like maybe she's taking over the story. She's taking over the island maybe, and then making her own story. I love her art, by the way. Once again, just really, really good. The whole like mural gives off like this older, like kind of worn out vibe that I really, really like. But then after that, we see Alex having the same sort of position that Neo did, which makes me believe that there's possibly a connection between Neo and Alex as well. It could be interesting if Neo and RWBY have a same sort of connection with the past, but where RWBY is going down a bad path, maybe Neo is going down a good path. I know that apparently she read Alex's story in her own book in Roman Holiday. Maybe Alex inspires her. Maybe she wants to be like her in a sort of way. I think that'd be really interesting. There is also something to note as well, the fact that there is a lot of like rabbit looks to Alex's outfit. Like she has the ribbon that looks like bunny ears. She has the symbol on her belt, the rabbit symbol. What does that mean? Could she possibly be the rabbit symbolism of the old times? Maybe that's her connection with John as well. I'm wondering what's going on with that. Maybe it's just because Alice, the rabbit is a very important figure in Alice in Wonderland, but I think it is pretty kind of weird how she has rabbit symbolism, and then after that, in the opening, John has rabbit symbolism as well. It could be a three-way connection where she's connecting with John, Neo, and RWBY. Because they seem to be, those are the three people who are mainly dealing with loss, which makes me to believe that she also is dealing with loss. And then after that, we end this with Crescent Rose coming onto the surface while Alex is going on her own adventure. Looks like going through a similar adventure that RWBY did, waking up on the side of the beach and going along with her journey. I wonder if Crescent Rose possibly landed. Well, no, because then it'd be kind of a coincidence. I was gonna say, could it be possible that Crescent Rose landed in the past? Maybe. It would be pretty cool if, like, let's say Alex isn't a Jabberwocky, but instead, like, she becomes a badass, like, fighter, and she's actually really trained with Crescent Rose, because she landed with her, maybe. I don't think that's what's going on, and also it'd be kind of weird how, Neo, John, RWBY, Blake, all of them, like, they all landed at the same time, but for some reason Crescent Rose landed all the way in the past. I don't think that's what happened. But it is pretty interesting that we're seeing Crescent Rose in the same area as Alex. It could just be, it's just there just to look cool. But I don't know. But yeah, that's basically where the opening ends. I mean, we get a good created by Monty right there, and then that's it. I really like this opening a lot. I am really, really impressed with the visuals, the music. It's all just Really, really good for sure. RWBY has outdone themselves once again. Like I said, there's definitely a lot of things that I'm sure that we can go back and then look at and then get the right answers for once we see more of the volume. But I think we got a lot done. Just from the first episode, like I feel like I had a lot to say.